Hello and welcome to another video. Now it's getting towards the holiday season, and although most years we'd have more festivities, this year, well, sometimes we have to make our own festivities. So, one of the very interesting traditions you see across different parts of Europe is the tradition of mulled wine. You'll see this in the form of Glühwein in Germany. We'll cover that in another video. And Glögg in Sweden, similarly pronounced mulled wine variants in Denmark, Norway, and so forth. Now, mulled wine is specifically associated with the Christmas season. Oftentimes people would drink it maybe before heading outdoors or while outdoors. Drinking a hot glass of this is a great way to warm up in the winter. And so it's definitely a winter holiday thing. Now, Glögg is a little different from Glühwein in the way it's made, in that it is much closer to the schnapps traditions of Scandinavia than it is, say, just simply mulling the wine. In fact, usually what you do, and what we'll do today, is we make basically what we would call a Julekryddor schnapps, which is basically a Christmas spiced vodka, and then this is then used to mull the wine. This is a little different from, say, Glühwein, where we mull the wine directly. I will cover Glühwein in another video. So today we're going to go ahead and get started. We will get started spicing our vodka, and then we'll come back in about 4 days and finish off making the Glögg. Glögg is also different in how it's served. Glühwein and similar hot wine beverages are just served as wine. Glögg is served over raisins and blanched almonds, and so we'll cover the whole thing in terms of how it's served and so forth. Finally, it's worth noting, if you're in Sweden, you could get ready-made Glögg at full strength, maybe 13–14% alcohol at Systembolaget, which is the state alcohol monopoly. But you could also get much lower alcohol versions at the supermarket. These are typically 2% alcohol, and there's no drinking age associated with those. So if you want to do a family alcohol, semi-alcohol free Glögg, you would typically pick up this one, stuff this 2% alcohol at the grocery store, heat it up and so forth. If you want sort of the full experience, you would go to Systembolaget and buy it there, or you would make your own. So we will make our own. The type of red wine is not that important, so don't spend too much money on it. A single recipe as we make it will be approximately 1.5 liters, or that's what, about 24 ounces of finished product, most of that being wine. So enjoy. I hope this is as good for you as I think it is. So onto the ingredients. I'm going to start with the ingredients we'll use today, and then I will discuss the ingredients we'll use the next time. So I have here some raisins, a cinnamon stick, cardamom, cloves. This is Pomeranschale, and it's basically the dried peel of the bitter orange. This is the orange we use for what do you call it? Orange marmalade, and it has a very strong flavor. We will be using this. Don't just like use Sunkist or whatever, because it won't be quite the same. Normally you want to try to get like whole pieces of dried ginger. Since we can't do that, we will use powdered ginger instead. There's a very major drawback to this, which is that the use of powdered ginger here means that the vodka mixture will turn bitter much faster. And so you can't really do this if you're trying to make a Yule schnapps, nor do you want to do this if you're planning on keeping this around for a long time. But we're going to go ahead and use this anyway. And then today I'm going to use the vodka, but we'll save the red wine for later. And just about any basic red wine will work for this. Later on, we will also when we prepare the glögg finally, we will use almonds and some more raisins. The almonds, of course, we will have to blanch. So this is the basics. We can go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with the ginger because it's powdered. I kind of want it to sit in the bottom and hopefully get covered out and filtered by other stuff. So I'm going to put in just about a teaspoon. And on top of that, I'm going to put in my raisins. This is a deciliter of raisins. I will provide imperial measurements. Measurements later. Then put my cinnamon stick on top. Put in maybe 6 cloves or so. Some maybe 2, 3, 4 pieces of this pomegranate shallot. Ooh, that smells good. I have 4 pieces, but one of them is pretty small. And then my cardamom here, it looks like, is in the green pods. So I'm actually going to fill up one of these with the seeds, and I'll come back when that's done. So now I have a scant teaspoon roughly of cardamom seeds. I'll put them in. Then I'm going to add, depending upon how strong you like it, between 2 and 3 centiliters of vodka. And then this is going to get covered, sealed, and set aside for 4 days. And so now it's been about 3-4 days. You can see this vodka is now very dark in color. And if I smell it, I will smell the cinnamons and I will smell the orange and the other flavors. And so we're about ready to proceed. So I'll talk now about what our next steps are. This next part, which is about blanching almonds, you can skip if you've managed to get blanched almonds at the store. But here in Germany, I haven't been able to find blanched almonds, so I'll have to blanch them myself. So we'll talk about that. But first, let me go through the ingredients we'll use today. So first, I have the vodka mixture from last time. I have wine. Now I'm going to use basically a bottle and a half of this. It's about 1.5 liters. The recipes that I'm doing calls for 2 standard bottles. They don't have to be fancy, so I got bigger, cheaper bottles and that sort of thing. We will use some more raisins. We'll have some almonds, some sugar, but the first step here will be to blanch the almonds. So let's get started on that. So blanching almonds is pretty easy. We're going to set a timer to 1 minute. I'm going to boil some water. I'm going to pour some almonds in the water. And then I'm going to start the timer. When the timer runs out, then I will rinse these almonds in cold water and I'll start to slide the skins off. So we're at 49 seconds now. I'll be back after I rinse them with cold water. So now I've rinsed these with cold water. I'm going to go ahead and basically just, you can start to see, and this peel just kind of comes away. So if you squeeze it, usually the peel will pop right out. I'm going to do this for all of them. And just so you can kind of get a little bit more of a close-up. Sometimes you'll have to start it, but then you just squeeze it and out comes the almond. So I'm going to do this with all these almonds here. And then when I come back, we'll go ahead and get started on the glögg itself. So, see you in a few minutes. And so now for the main glögg, what we're going to do is we're going to start by straining this vodka mixture into this pot. Now again, we use powdered ginger for this, which is okay, but it means that this will probably not keep as long as it would if we used whole pieces of ginger. So if you're going to make some up for a celebration, you can use powdered ginger. If you want to make a bunch up and expect that it's going to keep for 3 months, maybe you don't do that. To this, I'm going to add 200 milliliters of water. No, water, I mean sugar. And if you're weighing this out, how much is 200 milliliters of sugar? Well, it's 200 grams. And I'm going to start by adding 1 liter of wine. And I'm actually going to measure this out because a lot of these bottles are a little more than their stated capacity. So eyeballing 1.4, 1.5 liters might not be the best idea. And then I will measure out another 400 or 500 mils of this other wine. This does not require a fancy wine, so I'm going to decide on the lesser amount, and then I might correct upwards. So I'm actually going to taste it before I add all of this in. However, basically I'm heating this now so that the sugar dissolves. I'll be back in a few minutes as I start to stir this and taste it and stuff. So I've just had a small taste, and this is definitely on the strong side, so I am adding at least this much more wine. Basically, I'm going to heat this and stir it until the sugar dissolves, and then I'll taste and correct. I can add more wine, I can add more sugar. So I'll be back as soon as the sugar's dissolved, and then I can taste and offer tips as far as correcting. Okay, so now the sugar's dissolved. I'm going to just have another taste. So I'm going to take this aside, and I'm going to pour it back into the bigger of the wine bottles, and then I'll save a little bit out to actually serve right now. So I've poured most of this off. I have about a half a liter here left. What I'm going to do now with this particular batch is I'm going to serve up some of it. Then I'm going to pour some back in, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the wine jelly and make some jellies out of some of this so that I can kind of move some of this through a little faster. So, going to make some wine jelly out of some of the rest, but I'm going to serve this traditionally first. You can see it's starting to steam. Once it gets just a little warmer than this, we will start preparing. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it's a few almonds in the cup, a similar amount of raisins in the cup, and then I'm going to spoon over, probably with a gravy ladle, some of the warm Glögg, but I'm going to let it get just a little bit warmer than this. Once it starts to steam just a little more, just make sure you don't boil it. So this will be done in just maybe, yeah, this is getting pretty warm, so I think it's about done now. And that's about a normal size portion of Glögg. And now for the taste test. This has a lively combination of spices. It's a little bit stronger, I think, than your typical German Glühwein, both in terms of the spices and the alcohol, so just be aware of both of those points. And then normally you would take a spoon and eat the raisins and the almonds when you're done drinking the warmed spiced wine. This is delicious. I really like this recipe and definitely would make it again. Hope you enjoy it. Bon appetit. Sorry we can't do Christmas markets this year, but hopefully you can do something at home. See you next week.